All right. So before we jump into our next session, I wanted to spend some time just briefly recapping what we talked about in our previous session. So in the previous session, we discussed the irrelevant communication. So I invite everyone to turn your attention to the irrelevant poster, where you can see the I-U-IT pie charts. I think this does it's a great way to organize the irrelevant communication, and that's when we are communicating in this way, we're not taking into account ourselves and what we want and our feelings. We're not taking into account the other person, what they want, and their feelings, and we're not addressing the issue. As a result of that, we sound very, we lecture. We talk about facts and figures and statistics. So I would like to introduce our next session by asking a question. Have you ever been worried about a friend's behavior and you expressed your concern without blaming, without lecturing, without being passive aggressive? So we call that positive support. And as we further explore positive support, let yourself be aware of how you look, how you sound, and how you feel as you communicate in this way. So I invite everyone to turn your attention to our positive support poster, where I need a volunteer to read the poster.
I give positive support when I say it straight and express my concern in a way that shows friendship, caring, concern, respect, honor for myself and for you, support for you, not necessarily for your behavior, hope and suggestions for a positive outcome, how I honestly feel and what I think.
So this is a way that we can express our support for the person and not the behavior, while at the same time not judging or blaming or lecturing or being passive aggressive towards the person because of one of their behaviors. And I also need a volunteer, if I invite everyone to turn your attention back to the poster, where I need a volunteer to read the bottom half as well.
Discovering the goal, holding hands with my courage to say it straight. I improve my chances to make contact with you to be heard. I can let go with love and speak with someone I trust. I can support a friend and not agree with his or her behavior. I can be myself and be a leader for positive change.
So to explore positive supports, we're gonna create another movie. In this example, we're gonna have one friend who is displaying a negative behavior. And then we have two friends who are going to approach that person and show support for this person. Okay? In the first round, these two friends show their supports by being super reasonable and irrelevant. Okay? And we'll process it as a group. And once again, these movies and situations are just like real movies. The people who are participating as an actor or an actress are playing a role. But once again, allow yourself to feel your own feelings and to articulate your own thoughts, and not just what you think you should say or what you think you should be feeling. Okay? So, I need 3 volunteers. All right, Brian. Brian, who would you like to be?
Rico.
Rico? You are Rico? Nicholas and Brad. I will be Jack, since I will be the director.
I'll be Stella.
Stella. Perfect. There we go. All right. So in this movie, we have 3 friends. So one friend is doing something that the other 2 friends are worried about. So who would like to play what role?
I guess I'll be the one that's the one not doing the right thing.
All right, so Stella, what would you like to be doing? What behavior? Rico, Brad, what would be a behavior that Stella could be doing? You want to talk to her about?
Okay.
Going out too much, drinking.
Drinking too much? Okay. Good. So in this situation, Stella, and here you can kind of scoot over this way, give you a little bit more room. Stella is drinking too much. Right? Rico and Brad are concerned about Stella's behavior, so they see her and they approach her to talk about this. Right? Rico, however, his concern comes out as either super reasonable or irrelevant. You can pick. Or Brad.
I'm pretty good at irrelevant.
She really is.
So Brad will be irrelevant. He is expressing his concern to Stella in a relevant way. Rico is expressing his concern for Stella in a super reasonable way. Right? Just to make sure we're all on the same page as far as what communications are which, I invite everyone to turn your attention to the super reasonable poster, where I need a volunteer to read the top half of that poster.
I discount my feelings, your feelings, and I count only facts and statistics. I lecture, but I don't express my feelings. I pretend I am smarter than you. I sound like a computer. I hide my feelings.
All right, and the irrelevant poster, where I need another volunteer to read the top half.
I'm irrelevant when I discount myself, you, and the issues in our lives. I don't say what I think or how I truly feel. I distract, disrupt, or create a commotion. I zone out or space out. I change the subject to create a diversion. I talk about everything except what is on my mind and in my heart.
Okay, so Stella has been drinking a lot. Rico and Brad want to come talk to Stella about this behavior. Rico, he expresses his concerns and his deepest wishes in a super reasonable way, where he lectures and talks about facts and statistics. And Brad expresses his concern in an irrelevant way, where he distracts, changes the subject, and talks about everything but himself, Stella, and the issue. Okay? All right. Action.
Hey guys.
Hey Stella, how you doing?
Hey, I've been down in Kirkwood. I've just been drinking and I need to get home. I'm gonna get my car. I'm gonna drive home. I've been down at sports and Kilroy's and
Again, huh?
again, yeah.
So it was like 2 p.m. Why are you drunk right now?
I don't know. I've just been having a bad day and at work and just been.
There's still a lot of day left.
Oh,
Statistics
it's
show
2?
that it's 2 p.m. and you still have the rest of the day to be very
Well,
productive.
hey, Rico, Stella, my sister just texted me. Her dog just had puppies.
She did.
Yes.
Let's drink on that. Let's say a shot.
No.
Okay, statistically, 1 in 3 people will die from this situation.
Where'd you get this from?
It's on the internet.
Oh well.
If it's on the internet, it's true.
So
Statistics show that.
I drove here,
Yeah.
so let's hop in my car. Let's go check out the puppies real quick.
Yeah.
Well, she's
And I'll
drunk.
go get some shots. We can go to the Big Red
No,
Liquor. So
no,
we get some.
but there-
We
no,
get
no.
some liquid.
So
I got
1 in
one.
3
I got
people
Gatorade.
will die in this situation.
We can mix it. with something.
1 in 3 people will die. There's
Cut.
3 of us.
Wow. So, Stella, were you aware of Brad's and Rico's concern for you?
Not really.
Okay. Rico.
I thought I was.
She wasn't here.
Rico, how do you feel as you become aware that your deepest wish was to talk to Stella about your concerns about her drinking, but instead you reverted to lecturing and talking about statistics and being super reasonable?
It was hard because it got really irrelevant really facts.
Yeah.
And there was no way to get it back on track.
Mhm.
And then when he spoke, then it was just like a sort of a silence that we started. It was good. It was like, because it was facts.
Rico was coming hard, so I was just like, you
Puppies.
know, puppies, you know, and I'm like, that's gonna get everybody's attention, and I thought that would lighten us up a little bit. He was coming on to her. I was trying to lighten the mood.
Well, so Brad, how do you feel as you come there that your deepest wish, what you wanted, was to talk to Stella alongside Rico to address her behavior, but instead you started distracting and becoming irrelevant?
Well, I failed both of them because, you know, he was here. We both came to talk to her about her drinking issue, and you know, I couldn't take the seriousness. And then for Stella, puppies aren't really going to help her situation, especially since she just wanted to go take shots and see puppies. So I didn't do any help with the situation at all.
Okay. Stella, what could Rico and Brad have done to express their concern to you so that you recognize it?
Probably trying to figure out why I'm drinking, and then try to maybe help to understand, and then maybe figure out different ways of coping with the situation than drinking. Or
So what are some ways that we can express our support for Stella and her behavior? This can be kind of a question to everyone.
Can you say that again?
So what are some ways that we could express our concern to Stella? What could Rico and Brad, what could they do to show their concern?
Well, I can reassure her that they're her friends and that they're concerned about it being 2 o'clock in the afternoon and she's already unable to walk.
yeah, and get their, which they're my friends, but visit the trusting relationship, and then figuring out
And build on
what-
that.
build on that.
Mhm.
Definitely get me to a safe place.
Mhm.
That's the-
So a safe place, maybe that
Yeah.
could be a counselor,
Yeah.
or maybe that could be
Where there's no
someone that you
alcohol.
trust.
That kills.
Okay, so we're gonna do same situation, all right, but a little different. This time, Brad and Rico, you are going to express your concern for Stella via the Say It Straight communication. Okay? Just make sure we're all on the same page as far as this communication. I invite everyone to turn your attention to our poster, where I need a volunteer to read the top half of that poster.
I count myself, I count you, and I count our issues. I state my decisions without excuses. I stand up for myself and respect your rights. I count my feelings and your feelings. I express my thoughts and feelings honestly.
Okay? And given that Brad and Rico are communicating in the Say It Straight way, but also giving positive supports, let's check out the positive support poster also, where I need a volunteer to read the top half of that poster.
I give positive support when I say it straight and express my concerns in a way that shows friendship, caring, concern, and respect. Honor for myself and for you, support for you, not necessary for your behavior, hope and suggestions for a positive outcome, and how I honestly feel and what I think.
Very good. Okay, so same situation, same setup. Brad and Rico are worried about Stella's drinking. They approach Stella to illustrate this positive support via the Say It Straight communication. Okay. So something that we've talked about throughout the training is that the heart of Say It Straight, the communication, is that we're articulating how we feel, right? Our deepest desires and our deepest wishes. And sometimes that's not always reciprocated from the person that we're talking to. So Stella, in this situation, leave Rico and Brad. Once they express their concern and they're talking to you, you leave them. You leave the situation. Okay? Alright? Action.
Hey guys,
Hey, so
Thanks,
how are you?
Stella.
I've been drinking. I got my drink right here. I've been walking down the street. I ain't telling anybody.
That's not safe.
It's not.
That's not
No,
safe.
it's not good. It's the middle of the day.
But it appears it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
No, I don't think so. It's only 2. So here, you're here.
Yeah.
So you can't really
Are you sure you don't want to go? We go over here to that bar and we can start drinking together. Be old times.
No,
So I'm
no.
concerned. Your behavior, this isn't you. And you're carrying this drink, you can go to jail for that, so you probably should put that down. Just,
I've done it so many times.
I think you're done.
This is $5 on it.
I'll get you another drink later.
No.
But right now, you're done. You've had enough.
I'm gonna go find some more friends.
Yeah.
I'm drink.
Okay, cut. All right, Stella, were you aware of Rico and Brad's concern for you?
Yes.
Okay.
Good. Yes.
All right, what did they do? What did they say? How did they act? That made you aware of their
Just
concern?
being concerned and then stating what things could happen that are consequences for my drinking, jail and stuff like that. But then I think alcoholics will like get mad in that situation. I guess I would say those two perspectives.
Mhm. Rico, how do you feel as you become aware that you express your concern in a supportive and caring way for Stella?
I think I probably could have worded it differently. My approach, given the relationship that we have, so knowing her, if I can be very upfront and say those things, or if she can be taken aback by some of the statements that I make, maybe I'll change the way I'll word it.
So, based off of this situation, how do you feel?
Well, I'd be sad, you know, if it's my friend and she's in this type of situation, it'd be pretty sad, concerning.
And nervous.
Mhm.
She walked away
Scared,
from us
yeah.
at the end.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I would be angry because they're telling me what to do if I was. I guess I'm not saying that she was an alcoholic. She was just it was just she was drinking, but she'd be angry because they're not doing what or she's mad that they're not doing what she wants to do, and they're telling her what to do.
Mm-hmm. So it can be a tough situation.
Yeah.
Right. So, Rico and Brad, this next question is for you. Even though Stella walked away, how do you feel as you realize and as you become aware that you did all that you could do, and that's expressing your deepest wish to Stella?
I think there's more that needs to be done, especially in a situation like that. The state that she's in, she shouldn't be walking alone. Just on the safety matter, anything could happen. So as a friend, we would want to make sure that wherever she's going, she meets her destination safely. That other people are aware to look out for her as well. And maybe getting another female perspective in her as well.
So a couple different things. I love that idea. Well, here, Brad, what were some of your thoughts? How do you feel?
Suspicious kind of, just because, like, why are you, feeling this way that you need to be drinking so much? And obviously she got upset, so she kind of like took off. So it's like, we're obviously not the issue at that point. Like, we didn't start this, so something's causing all of this. So suspicion was kind of on my mind.
So Rico said that the next step would be to make sure Stella gets to a safe place. Right? So once Stella gets to that safe place, that safe area, what could Rico and Brad do next?
Sober her up a little bit. And maybe we could talk better, have a better conversation, but also maybe, reach out for more help.
Okay. So a couple of different things. Whether it be talking with Stella again, you said like have a better communication. Does that mean like when she's not
Yeah.
drinking? Okay, so maybe Rico and Brad could talk with Stella again when Stella's sober. Brad, you also mentioned going to get help from someone else. So Brad and Rico could maybe in that conversation with Stella could offer to go with Stella somewhere. Probably whether it be a counselor or a person that they trust, but they could also do that on their own. All right, observers, what did you notice during these interactions?
they were concerned, but she really wasn't trying to hear it. Not right now, anyway.
It showed that they are true friends because they continued to try to be concerned, and even though they knew that she wasn't hearing them, she wasn't dealing with it, and they still pursued the situation as, you know, trying to help her.
What about any kind of nonverbal cues? Do you recognize anything that maybe Brad and Rico were doing non-verbally to kind of express their concern?
Yeah, Rico kind of stepped to her a little bit and was like, "I'm concerned about you," and like reached his hand out towards her. She kind of was like a, you know, a spat, you know, like she wasn't trying to, yeah. and so, and they met right before she walked away, so yeah. But you could also see that she was like, when he said something about it being truthful, she was like, "What is that? Is that not the right behavior? I should, you know." So I think it kind of, she questioned it, even though she was not in the right mind.
Any other comments from our observers? Any kind of feedback that we can share as a group? All right, Brad, if you want to take off your name tag, say who you are.
I'm Nick.
Rico, if you want to take off your name tag, say who you are.
And Brian?
Stella, if you want to take off your name tag and say who you are. Jamie. And I am Matt. Let's give a round of applause to our actors and actresses. Good job. Great job. So now, I invite everyone to turn your attention to your workbook. Okay, so before we begin our next session, I wanted to briefly go over what we talked about in the previous session. So I invite everyone to turn your attention to the irrelevant poster, where you can see the IU pie chart. So when we communicate in this irrelevant manner, it's an attempt that we make to take care of ourselves, but we don't focus on ourselves and what we want. We don't focus on the other person and what they want, nor do we focus on the issue at hand. So as a result of not focusing on any of those three things, we distract and we talk about pretty much anything under the sun except for those three things. Okay, so I would like to introduce the next section by asking a question. Have you ever been in a situation where you felt unwanted, unwelcome, or rejected? So the purpose of this next activity is going to give you a chance to explore and experience and discover how you take care of yourself when you're feeling excluded and when you're being excluded. So this is a non-verbal activity, so you don't have to worry about what you're going to say. Instead, let yourself pay attention to your feelings and your sensations that you're experiencing. Okay? All right, so I invite everyone to get into groups of 3 where, perfect. So we'll have A, B, C, A, B, C. Okay? So we can all kind of key it up. And in this example, I want everyone to imagine a time where you felt rejected, where you felt unwanted, where you felt like you were being excluded. All right? So we're going to have 3 different rounds, and in each round we're going to rotate. So in the first round, we're going to have A and B wanting to spend time with just each other, and they're excluding C by happenstance. So we're going to do that for about 60 seconds, and then we're going to rotate. So then it will be A and C being together while B is being excluded. And then after 60 seconds, it will be B and C being together while A is being excluded. And after we complete each round, I'll give a reminder of who's communicating with who. And those of you who are being excluded, let yourself be aware of how you feel when you're being left out and what you want to do, and express it non-verbally. Okay? All right. Can I borrow your timer? Okay, so in round one, A and B are going to be together, so they can kind of turn to each other as if they're just talking with each other and excluding person C. Person C, be aware of how you feel as you're being excluded, and let yourself express how you feel in a non-verbal way. So everything is fair game except for violence. Okay, ready?
So are we just like talking over here?
Well, it's non-verbal, so just, so there's no words, but yeah, you can kind of pretend. All right, you can begin. So now we're going to change rounds. So this time, A and C are going to be together, and B is being excluded. Okay? You can begin.
You blocked him, bro.
Okay. And rotate. And this time, the final round, B and C are going to be together, and A is being excluded. You can begin. Okay.
He said, get over here.
So I'm going to everyone to have seats.
Oh my God.
All right, let's talk about that. Before we talk about it, though, I want to take just another minute and a half of just quiet time. And I want to encourage you to let yourself be aware of how you felt and what kind of thoughts you had while you were being excluded. Let's take some time to just kind of process that. Now, let yourself be aware of what kind of thoughts and feelings you were experiencing when you were in being a couple. All right, so let's rejoin as one group, and I want to ask a question. So, as you're being left out, you're being excluded from the other two people in your small group, how did you feel as you became aware that you were being left out?
Sad and embarrassed.
Rejected.
Lonely.
You know, a little ashamed.
What were you thinking as you became aware that you were being left out?
Put on the mask and act like you don't care.
I was thinking, what did I do? Anything. So I just kind of started to feel like I did something wrong.
So, as you became aware that you were being excluded, how did you cope with that?
I walked away. 'Cause I don't need them.
So, Jamie left the situation.
I tried to be close, to feel like I was a part of it, even though I was pushed away.
Yeah, kind of sneaking around the side. But there we go. Maybe eventually they'll stop telling me to go over there.
What else? What did you do to cope while you're being left out?
Point to lonely.
So Greg made an attempt to communicate to them. What did you do?
I just point at the tag.
So now think when you were a part of that couple. So how did you feel as you became aware that as a couple, you just wanted to spend time with that one other person and not the other person?
I like the cool kid.
Kind of smug.
Irritated.
Why does she keep walking over there?
So you thought like you were, this cool kid. What kind of feelings? How did you feel? Did you feel glad, excited, angry, sad?
Powerful.
I felt like I was being mean. No, that's not.
Yeah, I mean, if it was real life, I'd feel like terrible.
Yeah.
They're doing that to somebody.
So what are some possibilities as to why this kind of interaction could take place, where two friends are wanting to spend time with one another, or excuse me, with each other, without someone else being involved?
What was your question?
Yeah.
So what are some possibilities that why this interaction could happen? What are some?
Like if a guy and girl were dating, maybe, and so they would want to be by themselves and not have like their buddies over all the time or around all the time.
Even like a group of friends, there's usually like some that are closer than like others or been friends longer, so like they want to go hang out and do something, but then that usually causes issue with the other friends because they're like, why weren't we invited? So.
Or even the total opposite of that, and you have a new friend and you want to spend time with your new friend on account of you want to get to know them a little better, so kind of shove your older, better friends aside for a minute.
What are some other possibilities why this interaction could unfold, where you have two friends who want to spend time with each other, and not the whole group?
We work in our project together, just the two of us.
Or one friend's starting to do things that the other two don't like to do. Or they see them kind of like changing, so they kind of start distancing themselves from them. If one friend doesn't really realize what's going on, but they do.
So some of the possibilities that were brought up from the group is that these interactions can take place where two people want to be together just by themselves and not necessarily with a third friend. Are they all bad reasons? It's interesting, the notion of our perception of an environment where maybe you have two friends, whether it be they're dating or they want to get to know each other a little better, and not include everyone. But if we perceive that as, oh, they don't want to hang out with me, there must be something wrong with me, or the opposite, there's something wrong with them, why would I even want to hang out with them? When in reality, not all the possibilities or the reasons why this event could take place, they're not all bad. So as you become aware of that, if you feel excluded or feel unwelcomed, as you become aware that that's not necessarily a bad thing about you, but it could just be that those two friends want to spend time with each other, or it could be a good reason. How does your self-esteem feel compared to that versus when you first did the activity where you were being excluded and you didn't know why?
Your self-esteem is a lot higher when you're in a group as opposed to being a person outside.
So when we perceive this event and that we have two friends that are excluding me versus perceiving the event as, oh, those two friends, they want to spend time alone, which allows me to go make other friends or to, you know, leave the situation and go do something that I want to do. When you become aware of that, how does your confidence? How's your confidence as you become aware of that?
When you look at it as you can go out and find new friends, and I think the confidence rises a little once you realize it's not a bad thing that they're shutting you out, and that you can, you're capable of going out and finding other people to hang out with, and it's not, I think your confidence needs to be risen.
I think it just depends on the person. How they react to certain things. I know if someone wants to push me out, you know, I'm like, well, hey, I can go do something else. And I'll move on from it, you know, catch you guys later. But some people don't take it that way. Take it real personal.
A lot of that personal feeling, how we, you know, assess the situation, it can kind of stem from our perception of that situation.
Because it could be a situation where that third party was the one that removed itself because it didn't like the behavior or the activities or involvement of those other two.
And there could definitely be a reverse thing, because like you said, the one, like we used to group, and the group's like, well, why did they leave us, you know, and see them doing something else, so then they kind of become jealous or mad at them, so it could go either way for sure.
Well, I now invite you to turn your attention back to the workbook. We're now going to complete pages 20 through 28. So before we begin our last session in the Say It Straight training, I wanted to just briefly recap what we discussed and explored in the previous session. So in the last session, we did the dance conclusion activity. The nonverbal activity as a way for us to explore how we cope and how we feel when we're being excluded or unwelcome. And I think through the processing, we explored how powerful our perception is, and how you know, sometimes the reason that we're being excluded, it's not always a bad thing. So before we do our final activity, I wanted to spend some time reviewing our workbook that we've completed during the training. Throughout the training, we've kind of thought of this workbook not just as something that we need to complete, just to get done, but instead to treat it more as like a journal where you can write out your thoughts and comments. So as we explore and review the workbook, no one should feel pressure to comment or share if you don't want to. So we can begin on page 4, where we discuss the placating communication. As we went through the body sculpture and explored the placating movies and characteristics of that placating communication, would anyone like to share something that they learned through that session?
I found myself placating when it came to going to events or activities that I'm not interested in. And then I feel guilty and powerless, resentful, hopeless and sad in those situations.
realized that I placate a lot when I'm trying to not hurt somebody's feelings or kind of not disappoint them. So I kind of resolve that to just placate.
I feel like I placate more with family than with anybody else. I feel like maybe under obligation or
I just want to serve as a reminder that each of these communications has that negative goal. So if, whenever you do find yourself placating, or if you do have that realization that you placate a lot, you can honor it. And the challenge is to utilize it in the appropriate manner so that you can change it from a negative into a positive. So if we turn to the Say It Straight chapter, would anyone like to share something that they learned, or maybe a reflection, comment?
Throughout the training, it kind of seems like with saying it straight, it can be a big emphasis is on the person that you're saying it straight to, because if you're not caring of their feelings, you can say it straight and still not care about their feelings, but actually doing what what you guys are teaching us is, to do it in a way that also benefits them and not just you telling it how it is and not caring about how they're going to take it.
I think it's also the hardest out of all of them, because you have to be the most honest, and you have to be aware of not only yourself but others.
putting yourself in their shoes and still standing up for yourself.
Let's turn to the next chapter. The blaming, bullying, ridicule. And in comparison to Say It Straights, when we say it straight, we honor our feelings, ourselves, as well as the other person and the issue. Compared to placating, when we don't take into account what we want, how we feel, but instead we just focus on the other person and the issue. Whereas in bullying, we don't focus on the other person. We just focus on what we want and the issue. And when we communicate in that way, it can come off as blaming and ridiculing and threatening.
I mean, I think out of all of the different, and I think blaming was the less advantage. I mean, there was no advantages to blaming or bullying. Some of the other ones had kind of somewhat of a advantage, but I think blaming and bullying there was no advantage whatsoever.
I think it gave me a different perspective on things. With the sarcastic piece, I wasn't very aware of that being considered a thing. Being sarcastic, that's not the tone in which I meant it, but that's how it would be perceived.
Like she said, I kind of agree with her. There's not really too many advantages of it. So like looking back when we were doing the sculpture, I'd see myself doing this when someone comes at me, like aggressively bullying when I don't really feel like I deserve it. So I kind of like will lash back at them, giving them, you know, the same, which at the end of the day, that's not going to solve or make anything better. So it's better just to kind of like stay away from it.
Also, the blaming and bullying kind of caught me by surprise because I tend to do it sometimes and didn't even realize I did it.
Like you said, the sarcastic, that's a big one that I didn't really realize that it kind of does spot.
You know, as with all of these communications, there are those slight, you know, positive attributes for each communication. The challenge is by utilizing it appropriately, by honoring ourselves, the other person, and the issue, we can transform these disempowering communications into something empowering. So we'll turn to the next section, passive-aggressive chapter. Comments, reflections, something you may have learned.
I don't personally relate to this one when it comes to holding a grudge or trying to get back at somebody. When I think of passive aggressive, I do it, but not in the way that it explains it as in like I'm trying to get back. I say yes, but I'm gonna get back. I think of more of like when you're at work and your boss really needs you to do something, but it's like you needed to like leave real quick or something like that. So you're kind of like, all right, yeah, I'll get it done, but it was really better for you to get out because you needed to go do something or whatever. So without the holding grudges and, you know, retaliating.
And sometimes these communications, if you kind of try to utilize them in an environment that relies on, you know, responsibilities and chores. If your boss asks you to do something, you may not want to do it, but you know, I think when you find yourself in that situation where you know in your heart that you should say no, you know in your soul that you should say no, but instead resort to one of these communications. Go to the next chapter. So the super reasonable chapter. Comments, reflections.
I guess that's like trying to be, you know, a step ahead of others and trying to be like, oh, I'm the leader, or I'm the controller, or that kind of situation.
So I understand the negatives that comes with this one, but I also kind of can see it away as this is a good way for you to be able to stand up for yourself. Like, I don't know if someone's just like kind of wrong, but coming at you and saying you're wrong about this and that, and you're like, well, actually, not really. And then you can drop the facts and the stats to them, and, you know, gives you a way to, you know, stand up for yourself without, you know, doing bullying or blaming.
I think what you're referencing is the nuggets of gold for this communication. I can give a good lecture when it's called for. I can think things through clearly. I I can keep my cool even under stress. I can know myself better and let others know me better. I can be myself and be a leader for positive change. Any other comments, reflections?
Yeah, this is probably my go-to in times of debate. Super reasonable. Typically a reasonable person. Lots of facts.
Is that true, Kylie?
Let's now turn our attention to the next chapter. Being irrelevant, disrupting. So once again, I think something that is helpful is by looking at the IUA chart. So when we're irrelevant, we don't focus on ourselves, we don't focus on the other person, nor do we focus on the issue. I think Nick did a great job of illustrating the irrelevant communication.
This is something that I would use, like when I don't have the confidence to say no, or I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, so I'm not normally able to say it straight without hurting their feelings, so I would distract them, change the subject.
And depending on the place and situation, I think there's always room for a little doses of irrelevant to, like we said, lighten up the mood when, everything seems like it's going down or, energy's low. So. But when it's like a direct and someone needs an answer or, a serious situation, probably don't want to be irrelevant.
Other thoughts, comments? The last thing we're going to do before we conclude the Say It Straight session and the Say It Straight training is to do one final temperature read. Okay. Just want to provide everyone an opportunity in the group to discuss anything that's maybe on your mind or any kind of comments, to reflect on what we've learned and how the training has gone. So I can begin. So we have our temperature reading poster as well as the temperature reading on the back of the workbook. So an appreciation. Once again, I really appreciate everyone taking the time out of your schedules to come undergo this training. Really appreciate that. Who has an appreciation that they would like to share?
I really appreciate everybody staying focused and working together and being group. Very good group.
I appreciate Brian for inviting me.
You should grade these acting skills.
I do too.
Beautiful one. It was totally a show.
Appreciate the CCP staff. created this opportunity for us to get this information and even networking possibilities, collaborative efforts.
Here, here. Worries or puzzles? Anything that you may be worried about or puzzled, doesn't make sense? Suggestions for change. Does anyone have a suggestion for change? New information or accomplishments?
Getting a different perspective.
I learned something today from coming here, so it was new information.
I will think, I will catch myself now, when I'm blaming and blaming. Turn it around.
So I can be really sarcastic, that would really stuck out to me, and I just never really realized that I can be negative towards someone else who doesn't understand that it's in a joking manner, so.
Everyone in the group, you accomplished a great thing by completing the Say It Straight training. When I first completed the training back in March, I think something that really excited me about this training was I would catch myself breaking down communications and situations in that IUID chart. And I think once I started to kind of catch myself doing that, even in communications with my family and my friends, and it does make a difference. So congratulations and all of your accomplishment in terms of completing the training. Hopes and wishes.
This works well for the group.
I don't know if it's like a hope or a wish, but I want to, really take this in and work on it with, like you said, talking to family, friends, just every day, conversations, and really pay attention to how you're coming off to others.
I hope to use my nursing students with this so that how they talk to patients and don't just judge them and it's right or wrong. Understand the patient, where they come from.
One of my hopes and wishes for everyone here in the group is to really keep practicing. Keep practicing. excitements and commitments.
I'm excited to implement it with my work that I do here, so. If not just my clients, but with my family and friends too, so.
Committing to being a leader for positive change.
That's what we want. Other excitements, commitments.
I guess I'll be excited to use what I learned in the Office of Diversity and Inclusion, especially when we probably helping out younger kids and all our peers.
We've already talked about it, but I'm real excited to get this program into Boys and Girls Club. Kids, I think they can benefit a lot from everything we've learned here.
Very excited. Well, I'd like to thank everyone one more time for coming and undergoing the training.